One dictionary definition of a mistake is an action or an opinion that is not correct. Yet I'm curious to understand what not correct exactly means. We live in a world with over 7 billion unique people, all with different beliefs, personalities, and definitions of not correct. Therefore, how many times in history have we learned about courageous acts being considered wrong at that time? More specifically, how many female acts fighting for a better future were considered wrong? Today, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to explore how several times in history, women's so-called mistakes have changed the world by looking at 3 different women and their prominence. If we look at female activism across a large spectrum of time, there are plenty of diverse acts to pick out from. Firstly, why don't we look at a more classic example which occurred during the 16th century? This example is the life choice of one of the most successful monarchs in British history, who is certainly Queen Elizabeth I. Her road to the throne was actually quite challenging, but she fiercely turned England into a major European power in politics, commerce, and the arts. Nevertheless, she was still continuously criticized for being the Virgin Queen. It was wrong for her to remain unmarried. She instead claimed that her marriage was a symbolic one, with England as her husband. Without vowing her life to England, perhaps she wouldn't have attained all her achievements. With her intelligence, her craftiness, she didn't need a man by her side. This mistake caused her to become one of the greatest female leaders. Now let's turn our attention towards a very well-known example during the civil rights movement in America from the 1950s, or rather a crime that sparked the civil rights movement. What she did was refuse to give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. This was shocking, because she was simply a black seamstress who refused a much more superior white man. You see, in 1955, Alabama was still governed by segregation laws, which allowed only white citizens to sit in the front. When Rosa Parks was on that bus, tired, after a full day of work, she had to give up her seat because there were none left in the white section. Her subsequent arrest generated the successful Montgomery bus boycott, launching a nationwide battle against segregation. Despite being fired and receiving death threats, her resistance continued to inspire a high level of activism. This defiance definitely made her an icon, a mistake then and a victory now. Finally, it is impossible to discuss brave women, or in this case, brave girls, without mentioning Malala Yousafzai. Just like Queen Elizabeth and Rosa Parks, she refused to listen. She unlawfully disobeyed when the Taliban took over her town in Pakistan and banned girls from going to school. She boldly fought to inspire girls to rise against this regime. But when she publicly spoke out on women's rights to an education, a gunman boarded her school bus and shot her in the head. She was only 15, and she was already attacked for her crime. She stood up when nobody else did. Not only did her defiance become a symbol for young girls yearning for an education, she received a Nobel Prize laureate in 2014. In fact, she was the youngest recipient at the age of 17. To conclude, an American author, Albert Hubbard, once said, "The greatest mistake a man can ever make is to be afraid of making one." Perhaps we should change that man to woman. We have just seen 3 different women from completely different backgrounds, races, and with unique ambitions. What they all have in common is committing their mistakes for a better world. So no matter who you are and what you are doing, A mistake for those around you might, after all, not even be one. Thank you.